A lot of times we want to talk about slavery being associated with the wealth gap, but we also need to factor in the war. Happy Black History Month. And this month I've decided that we're going to learn about history through books. And the book of the week is The Reformatory. Now there will be spoilers, but I'll save that for the end. But let's learn a little more about the war and what I mean by that. Now, Black people have gone off and fought in wars many times over. However, when they came back, they didn't always get the return that they had earned. And specifically, I'm talking about the GI Bill. Now, the intent of the GI Bill was to help soldiers be able to be reacclimated into society at large, meaning pay for education, buying housing, all those things you likely lost out on while you were out at war. And while in some cases that did work for some people, you know exactly what I mean too, it didn't always work out like that for Black people. So when we think about the major impact of this, we have to think about how it is being distributed. So we have it at like the federal level that things gets approved, great. But the people in the South that have lost the war, that lost the Civil War in general, they convinced the people at the federal level, like, hey, you know what, we should distribute some of this responsibility. It shouldn't be all on y'all. You know, we should do this over at the state level. You know, we can handle it. They convinced them, they do it. They win. Why would they do that? It's because they were afraid of what would happen if Black people were actually able to accumulate some type of wealth, some type of status. They were scared of that, girl. And so if they had it at their level, they could start manipulating some things. What that looked like was the post office and the postal workers not always delivering mail as they are supposed to, whether it's the applications going or coming for the individuals that were trying to get the money owed to them from the GI Bill. But before we even get there, we also have to consider the fact of people being dishonorably discharged being a factor now. And if you think that on an everyday basis Black people have been targeted, you think it started today, being dishonorably discharged could have come at any time for no reason. And specifically the targets were who? Black people, exactly. I also need you all to understand how segregation works and the fact that Black people couldn't go to certain schools. So they were limited on what they could use the money for when they got it, right? What type of education they could actually get. And if all that wasn't bad enough, we also get into redlining and the state saying where they can and cannot buy houses. It's like they didn't want to give Black people money. And then when they did give Black people money, they wanted to control what they did with that money. So if they are controlling the money, the real estate, and the education, they are setting the people up to fail. And now we get to the reformatory. In the book, they have this teacher that has come back from the war, and her husband had both went off, and then she comes back and her husband didn't make it back. Her house ends up being a safe house for the little girl at one point in time in the book, and she gets to see how nice and lavish his house is, but where the little girl comes from is completely different. It's like night and days. Also, the more we learn about the sister, we find out that her husband actually wasn't just someone that didn't make it back from the war. It's also someone that had been set up to be dishonorably discharged, which is why when I talk about the reformatory, I say that like it's a fiction book, but it's also like an amalgamation of stories. This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Like this is real life pieces that she put into this book, and I truly appreciate it for it. I'll see y'all tomorrow.